Get ready with me while I share a little bit of my testimony with you guys. It's obviously hard to share everything in a shorter video. Please give me some grace. My parents divorced when I was 1, so would have told you I was a Christian. We believed in God. The extent of my relationship with the Lord was going to church on Easter, on Christmas, things like that. As I got into high school, I started getting very boy crazy. I always wanted to have a boyfriend. I remember from a very young age, I told my dad that I was going to stay a virgin until I was married. And one day, this older guy invited me to a party at his house. And this is kind of the age that I started partying and stuff started appealing to me. I was about 15, 16. I knew what I said, that I wanted to stay a virgin, but I didn't have like any value for that at that time. People were starting to be physically intimate at this age. It was kind of looked at as cool. You know, I was invited to this party by this older guy who was very handsome, popular, and he invited me, and I felt really special. I'm being careful with my wording because it is not my point here to defame anybody's character, to be honest with you, because I have healed and I've forgiven, but this is a part of my testimony. This was one of my first times ever drinking, so I did not know my limit with alcohol, and long story short, I ended up getting drunk. This guy that invited me to the party ended up taking advantage of me. That's how I lose my virginity. I woke up the next day just like very confused and almost in disbelief that that happened, and just feeling very robbed that that's how I lost my virginity. And then on top of that, people started talking about it, and I started being called names at school, and I was quickly looked at as the easy girl. I learned in that moment that why even say no to people, because this is who I am now. And I kind of started living like that, to be honest. In my senior year of high school, I started dating this guy who ended up being very abusive. He was pretty abusive physically, even more so mentally and emotionally. I was a very bubbly girl, to be honest. I was outgoing, I was a cheerleader, so you can guess from that, I was pretty bubbly in my personality. My mom saying to me, as I was going through this relationship, a lot of people started to see the abuse. I remember my mom looking at me and saying, with tears, and saying, "What happened to my little girl who was so full of light? What happened to your spark?" Yeah, that was true. It really took a lot out of me, to be honest. And I remember when I finally decided to leave, I was like, to leave this relationship, I was like, I will never let somebody treat me like that again. In fact, I am going to be the one who has full control. So I was going off to college at this point. I decided I'm going to join a sorority for the wrong reasons. I'm going to party. That's the only reason why I wanted to go to college, was to join a sorority. And so that's what I did, and I drank all the time. I would be physically intimate and then just never talk to them again, because that was my power. I never felt fulfilled. I would cry a lot, and I was looking for love. I was looking for someone to fulfill this love I so yearned for. And I thought if I could control it, that no one could hurt me again. But I quickly started to go downhill. I was getting really bad grades, and I ended up getting kicked out of the sorority because of my bad grades, because all I did was party. I just was feeling so empty all the time. I remember, so my dad was a believer and would talk to me about Jesus all the time, and it was so annoying to me. But I remember when I got kicked out of the sorority, I had reached my breaking point at that point, because I was like, what do I do now? It was my whole identity, was being in a sorority, being the party girl, and now I couldn't do that anymore. So I remember calling my dad up and saying, like, what do I do? And he was like, basically suggest I prayed, which I was like, what does that mean? He told me that they were having a Saturday night service at his church. I did not want to go, but I didn't think I had anything else to do. So I ended up going.